Welcome to Wise Beyond Bitcoin, where we come for the crypto neo news, education, and opportunities. My name is Lucas.
My name's Ryan.
And, we like to talk about the news, not just the opportunities in blockchain and crypto, which there are many. And we have playlists down below to get you started if you're interested in learning about this new emerging technology and how it's going to disrupt the economy in different sectors, little bit tiny sectors, which is what we're going to talk about today. But we do have playlists to get you started, DeFi tutorial walkthroughs, because it is a new technology, like having an email address or a CD player or a pager. You remember that? It's something that you can figure out. If you have an email address, you can download an application, have a Web 3.0 wallet, send, receive, stake, enjoy airdrops, and learn about how to participate. Take your time, do your own research, because this is education. This is entertainment. We're learning this new emerging technology together. It's not financial advice, commercial advice, legal advice. So take this with your own research and put it wherever you'd like to. But when you do that, subscribe and hit the notification bell. It helps us. And if you enjoy the tuition cost for this education center, yep, that's right. It's open to anybody. We are no barriers to entry. But if you'd like to send some love for the knowledge that we bring you, we've got the little whale and dolphin addresses below to drop some krill for the information that we shill, not promoted or sponsored, right, but we try to share the things that we think are exciting and innovative. And we are also liking to talk about things beyond blockchain and crypto, because it's all related. We like to talk about macro and economic and long-term views. So let's talk about a big part of crypto, which is stable coins and regulation and the interaction between crypto, stable coins, regulation.
Well, this is in the context of all the news surrounding Terra and Luna and the collapse, right? And so Janet Yellen, she's one that has spoken about the risks as well. Well, Elizabeth Warren's really been outspoken about stablecoins and how they pose a risk. And she's, sounded like somebody who doesn't even understand really the size of the market she's talking about. But in this case, you got someone here with Janet Yellen, who is, a noted and notable economist and expert on financial matters. So her take will be a little bit more rational, and it seems that's what we're getting here. She clearly states that even though the risks to stablecoins are growing, the risks related to stablecoins and how they impact the overall financial markets, that those risks are growing, but they're not yet a real threat to financial stability. And I think that's a point we've tried to make in the past, is that there's such a these markets, these crypto markets, and specifically just stablecoins, are such a narrow slice of economic activity that to paint them as some kind of systemic risk is really misguided, especially when there's all these other systemic risks happening in the mainstream financial markets, whether we're talking about housing prices and rental prices and the lack of housing affordability, and a lot of that's driven by institutional money and bailouts, and the way that the housing crisis was handled back in 2007 and 8. And all that is those problems add up to the trillions, and we're talking about in the stablecoin markets, fractions of those numbers. So it's good to see proportionality and a recognition that this really is not the systemic risk that some people paint it to be.
And we look at the global market cap, 1.34 trillion. It was close to 3 trillion at close to its peak not that long ago. But when you look at that compared to traditional finance, I mean, this market is a baby. I mean, it's still tiny. And even the stable coin, I don't wish, but I suppose they don't have that. Is it on Coin Market Cap? One of them allows you to filter
stable coins
and to see stable coins. So
I think Nomics had it. If you go back, you'll see it.
They don't have it anymore.
They didn't have it. Okay.
Do they have
changed
filters? Let's see. Oh yeah.
You're right. They don't.
It's gone. I thought they used to have it too.
Yeah, that they had a handy little button where you could just look at
Category.
the categories.
Let's see if they
But
don't.
yeah, it's we can tell from the
Algorithmic
article that
stablecoin. Oh, here we go. Stablecoin. Found it.
found it.
So let's just kind of go into stablecoin. Does this show us all of the stablecoins? It used to show you the whole stablecoin market cap of all of them put together. Unfortunately, I can't see that reading at the moment, but
Yeah, that would be helpful.
we have 76 billion. 76 billion is the number one, and then 50 billion. So this is, now these are not algorithmic, these are collateral.
No.
Collateral back.
Right.
Up to, and the idea is that these are babies compared to industries and markets in traditional finance. We talked about Terra is still showing up on the market cap right now, but this just blew up and collapsed, and at its peak it was $10 billion of decentralized stablecoin that was functioning, and that just blew up and collapsed. Did the whole market fall apart? Did the whole DeFi? No, it didn't.
I mean, there was definite sell-offs happening, but it
Sure.
didn't just go off a cliff. And now we're seeing the bounce, the correction from the sell-off.
Right. But so the idea that there's some huge risk to stability of finance because of stable coins or because of blockchain or crypto itself is not accurate. It's not, when you look at the scope and the size of issues that are going on, there are issues with fraud and counterfeit and problems in traditional finance and markets that the size of which dwarf all of the stablecoin markets put together, that are more of a.
Well, it's just really ironic to have somebody from either a regulatory position, whether it's Elizabeth Warren or Janet Yellen, who's a former Fed chairman, now Treasury Secretary. But it's kind of ironic to hear them talking about the risks to global financial stability in the United States, when so many of the current problems we're dealing with are directly the result of the effects of the policies of those institutions that they're in charge of.
It's almost should be like, she should have said, whoever asked that question should be like, she should have said, what are you talking about? Are you joking? Luna Terra causing a problem in our economy right now? Are you aware of how the monetary system works and the Fed and what we've been doing and how large the trillions of dollars of decisions that we've been making and influencing for some time? And you want to, how did the world economies and the stock market and NASDAQ respond to Luna Terra not working out? Did anybody?
Yeah, I don't think anybody even knew it.
Did everyone's family gather around and say, did you hear about the disappointment behind? I mean, these are new emerging technologies. The markets are still young and thin, and people are figuring out which mechanics, which markets, or which these blockchains work out and which don't. But the idea that that those who are vesting energy in the development of these, whether they succeed or whether they fail, the idea that it somehow is creating some risk to the outside traditional market it doesn't make sense. It's a catchy headline,
Well, it's good that she admits this. What we're saying is that we have, that she's not saying the other side, because that would be easy to do, and it'd be easy to take this moment and to grandstand and say, look, this shows you that, we need to regulate these things.
And so she says they're growing very rapidly, and they present the same kind of risks that we have known for centuries in connection with bank runs. I think,
and I would say only with the algo pegged currencies. I wouldn't say that with USDC. I mean, they have collateral that's parked at institutions, dollar denominated collateral, whether it's bonds or corporate paper or dollar deposits, or some mixture of the above. So to say that that's a threat to a bank run, only if they're leveraging and those deposit, that collateral is not really there. But if there's a one-to-one matching between Tether and that collateral, then I don't really see the threat of the bank run. That seems more of a threat when you start, fractionalizing your collateral and issuing many more liabilities beyond what you have in reserve, right? That's where that issue comes
It could be like you said with the algorithmic stable coins like Lunaterra, and we talked about this in a video before it happened and just had no idea how prophetic it would be, or else I would have done something about it. That there was going to be some huge coordinated maneuver to exploit and go into this death spiral. But the algorithmic peg stablecoin Lunaterra, it did have the potential to go into a sell-off where the collateral that backs it continues to fall, creating a need for inflating more, which devalues even more, and then boom, before you know it, it's too late and it goes down. So
right.
That and people running to it to cash out before the value goes down, knowing this as it falls, that can have a similar a very similar kind of risk as a bank run. One of the ironies is that the system, the Federal Reserve that she's in charge of, this financial system right now, has a history. It itself is born from creating banking holidays, withdrawal limits, and a lot of barriers.
Yeah, to mitigate that. Yeah.
To prevent bank runs for not having the collateral to back it up, and even moving off of a system that's even pegged to collateral because of many of these various reasons. So it's just funny to be talking about, the irony is that these are the reasons why in blockchain some of them fail, is because if the mechanics aren't there and the code, if you die by the code, live by the code, die by the code sort of a thing, there is no bailout. There is no Fed there or anyone to stop the run, and people see very quickly. In many ways, it's a very healthy environment, because without that,
you learn quickly in this kind of a world.
Yes. So, but the main point of this is that keep in mind and continue to let your friend, if you follow blockchain and crypto, to keep the conversation rational and in perspective, because maybe some politicians or maybe some people start talking about the worry of stable coins or crypto or blockchain. But the reality is that Panama Papers, Pandora Papers, war, housing market, student loan crisis. I mean, we look at
and those all dwarf anything going on in crypto.
It dwarfs. Crypto is just a small blip in what some people are vesting their energy in, this new market, to see if it grows. It's a seedling compared to many of these other markets. So the idea that it poses some risk or is anti anything, if anything, what we found is it's being easily assimilated and adopted by institutions and current systems, and it's that simple. I mean, I think people are already used to digital payments for the most part. People use more debit cards, credit cards, and buying online than they do with exchanging cash.
It's ironic. Something is ironic is that the more that crypto adoption becomes mainstream, and the more regulation that people like Yellen and Warren, want before that becomes a reality, the more that becomes a reality, the more that institutional investment will flow into crypto. It'll kind of open the floodgates and make it a doable investment for them. Whereas, outside of those strictures, maybe they're leery of it. It's too risky. Well, in that future, then you will see crypto, problems with crypto having a much easier way to flow back into the mainstream economy. And so in that world, there'll be a much tighter correlation. And I think you could say at certain market caps, maybe there would be a systemic crisis, a systemic threat, something spilling over, creating a liquidity, liquidity crisis where financing is hard to come by. You get a Minsky moment where debt gets written off. I'm not saying
but it's a setter's That's limited because we are, the funny thing is if anything blockchain and crypto has shown people is that if you've got the digital assets, if you've got the stable coins, if your bank converts to something, it in a more decentralized way allows anybody to put that collateral up and to create a small leverage position upon which to take a loan or in the world of DeFi. So I think in many ways, this allows for expansion. I think the technology.
No, I just think that the kind of policies that the Warrens and the Yellens want, they kind of create the context where systemic risk will be greater. And in a world where it's a wild west, and you just connect your ledger to your MetaMask, and Web3, and there's no KYC AML layer to it, the systemic risk will be muted. Because
the irony is that when you allow projects to not be protected through regulation and to not be protected with subsidies and other oversight, you allow projects to fail, and only those projects that are strong and sturdy and can pass muster and not be exploited,
survive.
Be bugged, survive. But when we look at the current problems in the economy and the gluts and the overproductions and the misallocations of resources in certain ways, that systemic risk comes when you have centralized bodies being in charge of
moral hazard, too big to fail, and all that.
The idea of making a decision on what should be the interest rate. That's
kind of my point, is that this Wild West period is going to be better for the kind of risks that we're worried about, and that if we go down the path of overly regulating this whole thing, then systemic risk probably will be part of this conversation, and it won't be purely a wink and a nod. There will be some legitimacy to it, and because of that.
I also think that the people that are because for us, I mean, it's been a short time, a scope of a few years, but it's been a part of learning. It's education. It's learning how to be a part of this new technology, how to build it, whether you're staking or mining, or voting. It's understanding how it works, and it's only through participation and learning and being a part of it does it grow. So it's kind of in a very early research scientific. It seems to me that this early era of blockchain and crypto is less, unless you're coming to it through a financial intermediary, and that's been your gateway and access. And for most people that have been working with it on the chain level, it's been a very highly scientific in research, and some things are going to work and be successful, and other things are going to explode, implode, and not work out, and we're going to learn and retool and rebuild. But it's kind of vain to start speaking about this from a regulatory perspective as if Janet Yellen or Warren or anyone knows what should be done, when even the people that are at the ground floor experimenting and building don't know and are finding bugs in Bitcoin and patching things up. So I feel that the more rational approach with everything going on in the world right now and how small blockchain crypto is, how little is understood, is to take a more laissez-faire approach and allowing it to emerge and grow as technology for people to take this time to understand what works and what doesn't, and how it can be assimilated. So in the future, a more practical
regulators
can be taken.
The regulators could definitely provide an educational service. They could do some due diligence and look at which projects are going to be the next BitConnects or the next Lunaterra.
Right.
If they have fragility and risk that's not people aren't aware of, they could
do that
research, publish those findings,
show a level of competence. I think there should be first there should be shown a level of competence and understanding, and then sharing that with the public first to prove that the population has an understanding of this enough to where now we can look at this
and to build some goodwill.
Yeah.
Institutions, that's one thing institutions are short on. And I'm not talking just about the IRS or the Treasury or the Fed, but just across the board.
Which we're not talking about, by the way.
No, but there's a shortage of faith and trust and goodwill in the society as it regards these institutions. So before they take a heavy hand and just start telling people what to do, I would say maybe come in and try to repair some of that trust and show us that you have competence in these matters. And then, if you do a good job, and we can talk later about other things, but definitely, don't come at the community like you know it all, especially when there's not a lot of trust and faith in these institutions. And so I think more of a like hearts and minds approach, if you want to resurrect that metaphor, that's called for here.
Well, you've got Countrywide from the housing debacle. You've got the
Lehman
lending.
Brothers.
You've got
Yeah.
Wells Fargo completely shut down personal credit lines because of the fraud that was going on there. It was Wells Fargo, right? Or was it Bank of America?
Yeah, that was Wells Fargo. Yeah.
So I mean, look, the idea is that there are so many problems. If someone says, that'd be like if you were bleeding out because your arm was, hanging, like the Monty Python, your arm's cut off or what have you, and someone's talking about, what do you think about this this hangnail? Like a hangnail hurts. You do want to do something about it, maybe it's like it's a little red around your toenail,
but don't prioritize it. Yeah,
but don't sit there and act like, is that a real threat? I mean, you could say, well, maybe if it gets infected and it's possible that it can get so bad that I get sepsis and die, and it's like you go like the worst tail end, lowest probability situation of what a hangnail could be, and if it grows very rapidly, this hangnail could be. But right now, if you look at what's going on with the economy
and financial stability,
yeah. I think if all of Bitcoin and Ethereum and the whole crypto market cap were to do a Lunaterra and just disappear tomorrow, we would still be dealing with issues in the world economy that are a lot bigger. And
one of the biggest threats to financial stability, according to most consensus models, or according to most experts who watch these things, is the Fed itself and their all the money they created, and then how much time they took to start raising interest rates and pulling back that stimulus. So if you want to talk about threats to financial stability, I would, if I were one of these regulators or one of these chairmen of the Fed or the Treasury or Secretary of the Treasury or whatever, I would be looking inward. It's like that old biblical concept of for every finger you point at somebody else, there's 3 pointing back. That I would take that to heart and just start looking inward in terms of what role I played in financial instability, instead of looking at stable coins.
I think it's, reasons. Before you talk about a splinter in somebody else's eye, remove the beam remote from your own. But I like the finger and 3 fingers pointing back. I think that's, it says the same thing,
3 for W, wise beyond Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, exactly right. But so we'll continue to follow up on, healthy and fun perspectives on a macro outlook, not just stable coins, which is a small aspect. And, another irony to the concept of stable coins is stable coins provide a function in the growth of DeFi and for blockchain exchanges and kind of for trading, for helping people protect from volatility from a trading perspective. But unless someone does come up with some kind of purely algorithmic backed, partially collateral backed stable coin that operates, they're using blockchain technology, they interact, but
they're not cryptocurrencies.
These are not cryptocurrencies. So many people get confused and they think, oh, well, if it's on CoinMarketCap or Nomics, if it's in the world of blockchain, then it must be a cryptocurrency. And many of these things are tokens like securities. Many of them are shares of an investment into a roadmap of something that you think is going to be built out or going to happen
by a team. Right, by a central team.
By a team. And that's a far cry from something like Bitcoin or Ethereum, or we've talked about Hex and others. So there are, or Secret Network, or, I mean, even if you're holding a native one token for Avalanche and you're supporting the growth of that network, it's different. They're blockchains that require either proof of work mining resources dedicated to supporting the infrastructure for it to grow and to validate
Right.
the system, or staking, proof of stake network. Either way, it's understanding that this is a lot different also from investing in a company. You know, a lot of people like to talk about crypto and blockchain as if it's investing in a company with shares. If you buy into an ICO, if it's that roadmap, sure, that's similar. You're holding a blockchain receipt coupon ticket. But for many of these projects, if you look at the layer 1 level and supporting the infrastructure,
they're finished complete projects.
They're finished complete projects. And now what you're doing is you're participating in the growth of the ecosystem, which
Right.
is not an investment into something being done for you. It's actually
It's more like you're just kind of providing your energy to
you're
something.
providing
You
your
don't know
energy and
what
resources
the outcome will
in
be.
time in because of your belief in support of the growth of something for whatever reasons. And that is really exciting, very interesting. I think there are great uses for the other side of blockchain, for the ICO investment, giving
Stablecoins.
people a more decentralized approach to coming at supporting the growth of networks worldwide instead of the traditional jurisdiction, stock market, national version. I can see how blockchain is decentralizing opportunities for people to become involved. But like we mentioned, stable coins, they are tokens built on these blockchains that are centralized. They are they often have
usually are collateralized by dollar assets
to make sure they can maintain that peg. And they have their purpose and their function, but they're separate from blockchain. I would even say that for many people, such as myself, who have been a part of participating communities that go up and down, there's a lack of interest in trading into stable coins because it's more for trading. I mean, really, if you're not into trading and you're okay to ride something up and down over time because your goal is to stake and to promote the growth and to be a part of it, and if that's the case, then it's a whole nother level, and stable coins don't really play a role, nor do they ever need to play a role, but they are great in helping grow communities, because not only do they protect people from the volatility, but they provide a frame of reference for many people as in between to be able to come in and out of projects and into different projects. So they absolutely help facilitate the interoperability of blockchain too.
Yeah, and its value, the utility of this whole thing too. If you had no way to realize any gains, then that would reduce the, I mean, you could always sell the position, but it's nice to be able to sell into something that's kind of fixed, right? Instead of getting into it, taking profit and then getting into another project that's, volatile.
Now,
so
to leave
it
off,
definitely adds utility.
We should leave off on another note that I think is very interesting when it comes to regulation of stable coins, and because they're centralized and because they're trying to peg to a national currency and can be seen as not a threat, but as, I don't know, a security, a counterfeit, a variant that's not approved,
like an analog
that's not approved. So one thing it's interesting to talk about, we'll talk about more in the future, is a project, and we talk about the importance of privacy for exchange of money, which has always been a historical component, not talked about. But let's talk about a little cliffhanger that we'll leave you with. We'll do a video soon. Shade and Silk, which is to be a stable coin, stable-ish coin that is not trying to compete with any jurisdiction. It's not saying we're going to be pegged to the dollar, we're going to be pegged to,
right? It's a basket they pegged to.
It's a basket including Bitcoin, including gold, including several major national currencies around the world, to kind of be tapped into the world economy and GDP. And so I think that this,
so we're going to do a whole video on that.
We'll do a whole video, but this is a neat idea, and a stable coin that can be more decentralized in its existence and operation, and more open to the world without stepping on any kinds of toes. It'd be interesting to see what this is. One of the fun things that we can see being done with blockchain and technology. Very excited to see this and many more things happening. And until the next time, you know where to go, subscribe, notification bell, that stuff, and have a beautiful day. Namaste, y'all.
Thank you.